welcome to the Challah Day podcast, where we sit over some of my homemade challah on Friday afternoons. I'm your host, Tammy Priest, a Jewish follower of Jesus, and it's great to be with you again after a bit of a hiatus as we talk about intersections between the Old and New Covenants. So I have to say that the last several months have been heavy. There are so many reasons, and I know I'm not the only one. And I'll confess that sometimes I haven't known what to pray or how to pray, and so I've sometimes found myself asking God to just show me glimpses of Himself, to show me glimpses of His goodness and His glory. And when I pray this, I often find myself going to Moses' interaction with God back in Exodus. This is when he asked God to show His glory. And this is the time where God puts Moses in the cleft of the rock so that the sight of His glory doesn't overwhelm him to death, basically. And so when God passes by Moses, this is what happens. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and stood there with him and proclaimed His name, the Lord. And he passed in front of Moses, proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. God proclaims His name and tells who He is. God is compassionate and gracious. He is slow to anger, and He abounds in faithfulness. He says that He is steadfast in His love to the people He's made, and He forgives our rebellion and sin. That is who God says He is. That is our holy God, which is comforting and reassuring. But God also says over and over that we are to be holy because He is holy. And obviously we can't be holy like He is. But as I've thought about this, it just really struck me that when the great I Am says that these are all the things He is and that we are to be holy like He is, it seems that He's saying that these are the things we should be about. And when I was meditating on that just incredible moment between God and Moses, I started thinking about what Paul wrote to the Galatians. Paul, or Saul, the Benjamite Pharisee, who despite his steadfastness against Jesus, one day was blinded on the road to Damascus by the glory of the Messiah's presence. He wrote something to the Galatians that sounds so much like what God had proclaimed to Moses that day. You, my brothers and sisters, who are called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the sinful nature. Rather, serve one another in love. The entire law is summed up in a single command: love your neighbor as yourself. So I say, live by the Spirit. And then he says, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. In ourselves, we cannot be holy, but God has put His Holy Spirit inside of us, enabling us, if we allow Him room, to love one another with joy and with peace and patience and kindness and gentleness, faithfulness and self-control. This is who we are supposed to be. These are the things that will let people know we belong to Him. When His Spirit dwells within us, we show glimpses of His holiness. We should show glimpses of His holiness in the way we treat one another. And so as we enter this next week, I pray that each one of us would earnestly lean into God's call to echo His holiness toward our neighbors, towards other image bearers. That the fruit of the Spirit is what we produce. It's what people see and taste when they encounter our words and our demeanor, just our presence. That we would bear the fruit of the holiness that dwells within us. And I pray that will be true of us, true of me on this holiday,